Hey everybody, this is Alan Fine. I'm in Trim, Ireland, in front of Trim Castle. We are also at the Puka Festival, which means ghost, and we're going to talk about this castle, its relationship to Samhain, the original Halloween, here on Insider Travel Report. So thank you for talking to us.
You're very welcome.
And introduce yourself, please.
My name is Susan Brennan. I am the head guide here at Trim Castle for the last number of years and basically organise a team that run the show.
What do we know about the castle? What's the history?
Well, Trim is one of the first stone castles ever built in Ireland. It is the largest castle in Ireland. It is the symbol of Norman power in Ireland, which came into this country during what we now call the Norman Conquest, which began in the 1170s.
Mm-hmm. And in its heyday, how many people were in there?
In its heyday, it was one of the most important centres of English power in the country. There wouldn't have been a lot of people living inside. It was reserved specifically just for the elite. So the Lord's family, his chief officer, maybe priest and some servants. So there wouldn't have been a lot of people living inside. Most of the other people would have lived in here in the castle grounds, because this is where you need your servants and your soldiers, the people who provide the services for your life. They're all inside here, while the town of Trim is being developed. And the native people would have lived outside and the elite Normans would have lived inside.
So this is a compound?
This is a compound, yes. The curtain walls, you can still see parts of them around the site. They would have enclosed an area of 1.5 hectares, which is why we call it the largest castle in Ireland, because of the sheer volume of land inside the protective walls.
As we're speaking together, I want to show pictures and have them get an idea of the property. What else so I'm going to show them the Great Hall. Mm-hmm. And what else should I be showing?
Well, behind you here is one of the more interesting facets of the castle, because it is the prison. And underneath the ground, as we look at here now, is the dungeons. So this is where law and order would have been administered from. The gatehouse was probably a residential area for the soldiers, for the defenders. Over here was another probably residential area for the family who moved in here when the keep is basically abandoned. This is a mint where they make coins for the Kingdom of Ireland during the 14th century. Mm-hmm. Around at the back is the Barbican Gate, which is a very unusual defensive feature. It's almost unique to
So how did it work?
It is a circular tower that was attached to a rectangular building, and the idea is that you can trap your enemy in various places, so make it as difficult as possible for them to get in to the interior.
Do we have access to that?
Yeah, well, access to a lot of it, yeah. Okay.
Now, at this is the 11th century, you said?
12th century.
12th century.
Yeah, 1100s.
And the origins of Samhain is similar?
Are much older than this. Samhain is associated with the Iron Age people and the great mythological stories of Ireland. It is one of the changing of the season festivals. Some people call it harvest, some people call it the harbinger of winter, and it is associated with when the veil between human and spiritual becomes thin. And in ancient Irish literature, it is when the one of the ancestor people of Ireland, the Tuatha De Danann, where they could interact and interchange and come in and out. Because in Ireland, we don't have an underworld, or we have an other world, where the two worlds basically operate in conjunction with each other. And at this time of the year, you can move between one and the other.
Our travel advisors are looking for reasons to send their clients here. Samhain certainly one. If they're following the Normans, it would be a great reason to come here. Let's talk about the visitor experience.
Okay. Well, when you come to Trim, you have several options. If you haven't time for a proper guided tour, you have this entire 3.5 acre site to explore at your own leisure. And in front of all the major buildings, you have the explanations, the panels, which show you how the structures look like, how they live their lives, and you can spend as little or as long as you want. Now, if you have the time and you are interested in the Norman experience, you take a guided tour. And in that case, we take you inside into the keep, the central donjon. And there are a set of spiral staircases inside, and as you move around you get to look into the rooms. There's models to show you what the castle looked like, and it's a place to experience and to discover this important part of our history, because the Norman Conquest is a pivotal point in Irish history, and it starts basically from here. Even before the de Lacy family, who are responsible for the construction of Trim, before they come in, the conquest has already began from 1167, but by the time the de Lacys get here, it is being put on a more military basis, and this becomes the powerhouse that drives the conquest. From here, at this point in time, we see the branching out into the other really important family in Ireland, which is the Fitzgeralds, and then you have Maynooth, and you have all the Leinster occupation. So Trim is the centre of the power while the colony is being established, and Trim Castle is built before Dublin Castle. So this was where it nearly all began.
Can you describe what we're going to see as we do a bit of the tour?
Well, when you do the tour, you enter through what's called the vestibule. That's the first room. And the idea of it is to show you the reality of living in a building like the keep, because it's one of the best preserved keeps in Ireland, certainly in its original condition. So one of the surprises is the contradiction of what you see here, this enormous building, and when you go inside you are in these very confined spaces, because the idea of this is as a fortress. The size of it is going to keep you alive. Right. That's what it's about. Right. It's going to keep you alive.
Could it take a shot on the side? And
it probably could. It probably could. One of the things we don't see today, not a cannonball, they don't come for another couple of 100 years, but certainly trebuchets, catapults, all the things we see in medieval films would have been the way to destroy these buildings. Now today, again, it's a bit misleading in a sense, in that originally it was white, it was plastered, and the idea of the whole building being white and plastered is so that the plaster is kind of nearly as a shock absorber. It will help to spread the percussion of an attack. Also, the white building makes it a dominant feature on a landscape, because these are reminders to the ordinary Irish people that life is changing. You're now subject people, new overlords, new masters, new way of life.
So just tell us a little bit about preservation and then how we can get more information.
Well, you can go to the Heritage Ireland website, and that gives you information on all the buildings that are operated and run by the Office of Public Works. There's a dedicated page to most of them, so some of the information about Trim will definitely be on there. We have an excellent visitor centre just down in the town, which is open as well for most of the year, so you can get more information down there. And they also have replicas of the sites.
It's not going to help a travel advisor in North America. So what's the URL?
Well, it would be heritageireland.ie. Now, there is a separate Trim Castle at opw.ie, and that would have some information, but the majority of the information is heritageireland.ie.
Thank you for sharing with us.
You're very welcome.
And this is Alan Fine for Insider Travel Report.